Today we are just so happy to have with us Lassane Ouedraogo
Yes.
from the African Solidarity Centre. Now we're here at Near Media Co-op, and we have a special opportunity to hear all about the work of the African Solidarity Centre in Ireland that has been existing since 2000.
Yes.
Yes. Listen, you are welcome here.
Thank you.
I want to just take time to tell us, because you are the chair, the ex-chair of the chairperson of the African Solidarity Centre.
Yes.
Then you became the director and also secretary.
Yes.
And you've had a lot of experience working as a volunteer, managing the African Solidarity Centre with your team. Tell us a little bit about the background of the African Solidarity Centre, please.
Thank you very much, Mary. It's a great pleasure and great opportunity, and I'm very grateful and delighted to be here. To take you back about the Africa Solidarity Centre history, we, as African people of African descent, should be very proud for the legacy that was given to us by our elders, predecessors, because in 2000 it came to the African migrant at the time the need to have an organization that could see through things being done to make the life of migrant and Africans easier in Ireland through integration, development, education, and a lot of things that will be, contributing to better integration in Ireland. So these founding fathers had a great idea of coming up with something that I think is a golden legacy, the Africa Solidarity Centre. But that wasn't made by only the African migrant at the time, because they were so lucky to have, amazing Irish friends, wonderful people around them, the like of Niall Crowley, who is the head of Equality Body, the like of former South African ambassador Melanie at the time, and many other people like Joe Costellos and other wonderful people who supported them for the Africa Centre to see to see the day at the time. And like I mentioned, it was about foreseeing the difficulties and the challenges, even though they might be thought small at the time, but growing with the time, as we can speak over and over how migrant and African are facing the island. So yes, that was the idea that led to the foundation of the Africa Centre.
Right, and one other thing I just wanted to get to just extend it for me a little bit, please. You said the founding fathers, they weren't just Africans, they were Irish, who felt that there was a need to have this centre to be established.
Yes.
Because most of us, we get the impression that this was an African put to get this on, but you're saying no, that wasn't actually the case.
Mary, not to cut you, but let me tell you, among those who created the Africa Centre at the time, to not call all names, but one of the amazing guy, one of the father, Reverend Father, Raymond Macquarie, is an Irish, Scottish, and lately South African, because he has served in a mission for so long in Africa and become recently a South African. He's back now in Ireland, and he's based in Donegal, serving his mission, and is pure white, Irish, Scottish, who had been part of it, and his name is part of the Constitution when it was founded. Like I said, the like of Niall Crowley and Melanie at the time supported the foundation. They were not part of it whatsoever, but they supported the foundation. But most of the confusion is the name, which since my time, I have made my effort to make sure the word solidarity is part of the Africa Centre. So they know that it was with the possibility and the support and the solidarity of our allies and friends that the Africa Centre was made possible. So today is an opportunity that I use this platform to call any fan, any person who has a passion for the African continent, African people in Ireland, to join the organization. It's a membership organization. It's open to corporate, it's open to organization, to individuals, and everyone is welcome to be part of it.
That is very interesting to know that. And so I will say African Solidarity Centre. So we're solidifying everybody that has interest in the affairs of Africans here and Africans abroad. Now, just to go on further, tell us then, it is a charity organisation, so how are you funded?
Yes, very good point. The Africa Solidarity Centre is a non-profit and a charitable organization, and how we are funded is based on the membership donation and also target funding application that we do with some institution. I can say that the Department of Justice under the international protection has been a good ally, a good partner, who has been facilitating us to do some kind of good work in terms of asylum seekers integration, facilitating the integration in Ireland, but also dealing, organizing workshop on the mental health and the well-being. So this is, for example, one. We do have some few projects that we run with the EU Commission through the Erasmus program, and Lagos has been a very fantastic agency in Ireland who supported us to carry a few activities, have your say on integration, and that has been very successful and amazing.
So to recap, you're depend on the project you're doing. We're going to go into the projects in a few minutes. You're dependent on membership fund.
Yes, donations
from anyone. So how do people...
Goodwill, people who want to support us in different areas. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to come back to some of the projects you do. Right. So now I'm assuming, please correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of the founding father who were Irish are no longer there because they moved on, and is now taken over by most of the African activists.
Yes.
Am I right? Although the last chair was actually from Belgium originally, isn't she?
Yes. Right. She's still. That's my correct. That right. She's still acting chair until next week.
Right.
Because we have our AGM not long ago, and board of directors were elected, and the board of directors will be meeting next week for the executive committee, which then will elect the chair, vice chair, treasurer, secretary, and so on. So by next week that might change. But at the moment she's still an acting chair, which is she's originally from Belgium. She's a white and she's a member of the Africa Center. Yes, a very good point you made there. I said, keep repeating, it's a golden legacy by our founding father, because in Ireland, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but among the African community and the African diaspora, the only African diaspora organization, membership organization, where everything is democratic and where none of the founding fathers has influence on what direction to go with the organization. So
why is that so important, though?
It's
because they founded it knowing that there was a need for Africans to integrate. There was a need for the community of Africans to have a place where they could express themselves, and different projects was going to go. Why is that so important then?
I think it's very important. Today we talk about a lot of issues of diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging. And I think they had a vision of leadership, where leadership is not about who is leading, but it's about those he's leading and what services are provided to them. So they thought about transition, about passing legacy to others, which is important because as a member, you have a decision-making and contribution to the life and the future of the organization with no influence. Some other organization is not like this. If you go in and you have your finger up toward a direction that is not liked by who is the founder or who is there, you might be out. And we see this happening over and over. In Africa Center, all ideas, project, approach, contribution are welcome. And it's at equal opportunity, equal share. one of our challenges is when members do not have understanding of the obligation as a charity organization, the regulatory, and taking different approach. But however, that's where the board is there as a governing body. That's where the members are there as a decision makers, and we always consult with all the instances to make sure that things are followed suit.
Right, that's good to hear. That's
Thank
very
you very
comforting to know that. Now, just moving on slightly, so what then would you say, who's going to tell me, what would you say were the aims, the objective and the goal for the African Centre? Just give me just a few things so we can get around ideas to what it is that you've been striving for before we look at the projects.
Let me give you, maybe narrate on one of the bigger, the most important, like I love so much about the Africa Centre. Mission, vision, objective. That's one of the vision goes into interconnectedness, the Ubuntu approach. I am who I am because of who you are. Okay? Like an approach where humanity, solidarity, love, and unity has been at the high core of everything. The interconnectedness is a kind of globalization. And you see, we've seen the movement of far rights these days, racism, discrimination these days, taken off on the ground and growing. And you see the rejection of some of our people. And that is something, Mary, that the Africa Centre was foreseeing, trying to make sure either you're south, west, east or north, we have that connection. We work as human beings, as people who have values. And the Africa Centre approach on those issues was how to promote better integration, no matter who you are. And as I always say it, integration is two ways. Like, it's not a one direction. I take from you, but you don't take from me. We learn from each other. And the Africa Centre has that approach through Africa Also Smile, which has been a good project, unfortunately no longer funded, which we wish we could continue that project.
So tell us a bit about that project then.
Africa Also Smile, as if you look at what is going on, it's all about negative things coming from the continent and the African people. And Africa Smile project was also to promote positive image of the continent and the people of African descent and African in Ireland. And that was, there's even a development education tool that is on our website, online, and that was even used in schools, colleges, to educate people about our history. I think one of the good things that happened in one of the milestones is that the Living Certificate in 2011 had even a question based on our development education tool, and something to be looked at, but due to funding we couldn't pursue that project, but it's still on our agenda anyway. So Mary, the Africa Centre had truly a vision, and that vision was how we will be in 5, 10, 20 years, and now 25 years. We're seeing that what they have comes up 25 years is actually on the agenda. Migration issues, asylum seekers facing tough moment, politics shifting from left to the right, center to the right, everything. And again, one of the good things was the political education, which was initiated first by the Africa Centre in terms of encouraging migrant ethnic minorities to involve in politics. Today is a reality, even though we did not get the means, the resources to continue that. We've seen the increase of migrant councillors. We've seen the increase on every political party where we see other than Irish getting involved. So that was amazing to see. Again, cohabitating, living together, bringing family support. tackling issues like education, health issues, where, Mary, you can agree with me how mental health is really in Ireland. We had the support with Mental Health Ireland a few years ago to carry workshops, and we've seen the result, and we've seen how mental health among the African community was a hidden agenda.
But that's a good one, because just to not to interrupt you, because when you say mental health, this is one of the things that's been very delicate in the African community, isn't it?
Yes.
To actually recognize that we have a mental health issue, because we pride ourselves being resilient. We pride ourselves as Africans being able to cope. And tell us how that project actually evolved, because it was quite a strong project to bring Africans to the realization that it's okay to say there's an issue going on in my life here. Tell us how that worked.
I think that project went very well, and we are hoping that we might, and it's an open call again for anyone who really want to support us on that, to come forward. We'll welcome any kind of support, because that project led us to go around the country, Dublin, Cork, Limerick, Longford, everywhere. And we met with the African community, diaspora, through workshop, and we worked in partnership with the Black therapists, which we are aiming to see what can we do again. And during those workshops, we've identified a lot of issues among the African community. Like you said, culturally, many Africans, when they have mental health issues, think that is like a taboo thing. It's something shameful, and it's difficult for them to disclose until it's too late. But during those workshops, we were able to counter, prevent, and even lend support to people who are struggling. And it has made a good, impact and a difference among those who attended the workshops. So, yes, clearly that we need support on that. The state need to do more. I know Mental Health Ireland did a great job supporting us, but due to lack of funding, we could not continue the project. But we are hoping that this year we could, reconduct it with the goodwill and the support of people.
And the conclusion, which you made quite rightly, is that more Africans in the diaspora in Ireland have become more aware of the fact that it is okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great achievement by the
and many are
African
contacting
Center.
us. Many are now feeling and again, one of the things that is difficult for us as well is feeling safe, the safe spaces. And this workshop created safe spaces for those African or community in diaspora. And I can say that it wasn't only addressed to African. We had many Irish people who attended these workshops. We had people who were even Ukrainian, people who were Brazilian and so on, who attended this workshop, and we are open to everyone. And that was a catalyst for telling people, you know what, you're not on your own. You're not the only one going through that. You might think so, but there are other people who are doing, but these are the help available for you. So it was very amazing project.
So that's the workshop. So what happens if after, did you help individuals able to get therapy if they say, listen?
Yes, we do. We did that. We supported many, and we even still support many, either through one-to-one support by referral services. Unfortunately, sometimes it's costly, and due to lack of funding, we have sometimes to go back to GPs, and some of them are on waiting list. Where we managed to get little funding, we did take care of that, and some of them are still getting the support, and it helped a lot. And the thank you every time is amazing when you see somebody who was on the edge of the cliff, and then come back to normal and say, thank you for doing this. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. I didn't even know where to start. But amazing stories.
That's a good success story. Is there? And tell us more about the Erasmus. You mentioned the Erasmus project. What was that about?
The Erasmus program was also amazing one because, like I say, integration is two-way. What the Africa Center did was to come up with a project, have your say on integration, and have we met before? And those projects were, coordinated by the Africa Center with EU partners from Cyprus, Slovenia, Sweden, Belgium, and Austria. And we did a comparative, and that even report can be found on the EU Commission website, the Erasmus website, because we did an amazing report and compiling the partners country, how integration has been looked at. Dublin, when it comes to education, housing, health, how are things done in Ireland compared to Cyprus, Slovenia, or Austria? And we've seen a lot of gaps and good practices that we had to make recommendation. However, these are things that sometimes we feel pity a little bit, because good reports have been done, good work is done, but no follow-up and not taken into consideration by the government body, while this has been submitted and it should be made use of for the benefit of the people.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that again is not only African. We work with many organizations who had European, African, coming together, looking at policies. And the last legs of this project ended up in Brussels, where we had to meet with institution leaders, the parliamentarians like MEPs, to lobby for that. But it's time politics is the bigger issues here. They listen to you, they take your recommendation, and then after you leave, they put it on the drawers and nothing has been done. This is a pity. We hope that we could get some support to go back to lobby at those MEPs that took. Some of them are unfortunately not elected, some of them were elected, and whoever comes, we need to remind them, are you aware of this report? Have you seen this recommendation? What can be done?
Oh, okay. That sounds, you're doing research. What about the youth? How does the African, do you get involved with the youth? I'm sure you do.
That was going to be my next point, because effectively the youth is our really capital focus these days. The youth has been always from the beginning, at the birth of the Africa Center, on the agenda. So within the Africa Center, we have what we call the Intercultural Youth Society, which is open to everyone. And they meet often to discuss issues that are going on. We're even convening a meeting. Mary, you will agree with me that in the last 2 weeks, we are in a shock of what happened in Dublin City, where an asylum seeker lost life from stabbing, and one or two injured, and Africa Center has been providing support to one of them, and we are looking into bringing the younger generation on a meeting to discuss issues and how can we promote better integration on that. So what the youth do is also, having their own section, independently discussing issues that matter to them most, but also organizing, social activities and so on, to make sure that things are well handled and promote better friendship, allyship within themselves. Because we've seen one of the things that we do in terms of the youth projects as well is looking at, the trouble areas like Dublin 15, Balbriggan, Lusk, and other things that we heard sometimes, the negative narrative, like what happened 2 weeks ago, where the media did not really investigate the issues, but telling their own story. And then you realize that it was just made sensitive, but that didn't happen. It's labeling our younger generation as black gangs and so on. And we are trying to tackle that through social activities and social and inclusion activities.
So that's very interesting. How does the African Solidarity Center counteract those information that is not yet founded? Like saying, like you said earlier now, people thinking that youths are just full of gangs and they stab and they do all these things, but those things were not yet founded.
I might not be able to give you too much details because some of the issues are still pending, kind of court issues and so on. But if I tell you, give you the recent event that happened in the city, we were made to believe there were two gangs, two groups, and fighting and so on. Our knowledge and expertise having to provide support services on the trauma and what many have gone, and some of the witness gave us a different story. This is why I want to give it too much detail here, because we are making representation to one of the client. But if you look at what is happening in Balbriggan and so on, and other areas, even though we know some young people might have some issues, it is not always what is being reported, because they do not go to the source. They do not investigate. They do not even meet with the victims, often those who are the perpetrators, to find out what is happening on the ground.
Okay, what does the African Center then do for those victims?
What we do is that usually, even though we don't have the resources, anyway, not that we don't have the resources, we end up getting dragged into it, because we'll get called either by one of the members of the communities, families, or this happened, could you come to help us? Which sometimes is tough, because even though we interact and engage with the Gardaí, sometimes they are not reluctant to cooperate, while our role is to really assist and provide, support to both sides. But what we do is we meet with the involved people, we listen to the side of story, we advise them, and sometimes we either make a representation or we look for legal people who can better represent them, and we engage with the authority on how to resolve it. Sometimes we need to provide counseling, mental health support, depending on the circumstances. Some who are, I will say here that it happened that some people might be under some influences, and we have to also look at service provider who can help them out of these difficulties. Or wish we had a proper space, we had means to have our own staff, but unfortunately we still have to rely on other service provider, because it seemed like something somewhere the door is locked, so we don't get the resources that we need to provide those services. Why it could have been better helping the state and helping the stakeholders as well.
So do you then work as African Solidarity, do you work with other service providers?
Yes, we
where
do.
You can't meet up because of lack of funding or no
We
space?
do.
Like, give us examples of how you work with those.
In terms of mental health, we work with a lot of doctors, GPs. I know it's sometimes difficult when the person doesn't have a medical card, or it's not from that area. But we do, in terms of counseling, we have Mental Health Island have some kind of good tools, good services. When it comes to issues of involvement with the Gardaí, we have to really get some services like legal services. Unfortunately, free legal aid doesn't really do much to support us, even though on the website you go, it's clean that they do support. In some areas, some don't get it. And unfortunately, one of the things that is common is when it comes to housing, it's a bigger headache for everyone right now in Ireland. And we have to go relay back to some of the organizations like Irish Refugee Council, Focus Ireland, Crosshair, or Jeju Refugee Service, by referring people to these services.
So given let's just talk about that housing crisis now.
Yeah.
Because, it's Irish first, which we're beginning to understand. This is very crucial for the Irish community to feel that their needs are met, and the international protection. How does the African Solidarity Centre juggle with that? Because obviously there are more people probably coming to you with housing need, and you don't provide housing. So how do you respond to that need from the international protection, people that you're helping, and also just general people, because they find it hard to get housing because of who they are, because of their race, if I may say so?
Mary, when it comes to housing, is seriously one of our bigger headaches. And we've seen people who are obliged or forced to share like rooms and a space that is not really hygienic and not health-wise not good. However, I
Sorry,
pass.
I just want to get that a little bit clearer. These are the international protection. They're sharing.
Talking about international protection applicants, where you see some warehouses, industrial estates using now as facilities some kind of former religious places or centers using for facilities, where sometimes in one room you have like 60, 30, 40 people on there. And if you look at even in terms of toilet facilities, it's not really health-wise, where one or two toilet facility might be used by 50, 100 or even more people. So in terms of health-wise, it's not. But the bigger challenge is the government's reluctance to even foresee housing as the basic human rights issues. Under the international law, the Geneva Convention, the Irish government has an obligation to provide accommodation to international protection applicants. But we've seen for the last year and a half or two that male single applicants are left stranded on the street, having to rely on tent until recently with the cold, where some facilitation was made temporarily.
Right.
And that is not helpful. However, we don't have the power to change many things until, private donors comes and give us the resources that we need and support us to do that. In terms of normal housing, even those who have residency are struggling as well.
So there's how are they struggling? Because they now got the right to stay, the right to work, all their rights given. They're now citizens of.
I am sorry to say this year, discrimination is the height of everything. Racism is influencing housing issues in Ireland, where many landlords will not give house to non-white, non-Irish. And even though you have your residency, you have your right to stay, and there are many people in the asylum process who have right to move out of the direct provision centers for the last 2, 3, 4, even 5 years, and struggling to get where to go. So
how does the African Solidarity Center, what do you do for these people who are now resident? They have the right now. How do you support them, or can you?
Yes, I have to tell you that we're doing a lot. We do advise. We do advise asylum applicants on their right. We do help them through the interview process. We do help them after the interview process, appeals, legal support. But one of the things that we do is engaging with private lawyers. Maybe if I go on my email and show you even some of the communication I sent to landlord to even explain individual cases on where they need to really, compromise and help some families to get where to have a roof over their heads, it's a problematic. But I can tell you that maybe 1 out of 100 applications goes successful. The rest you keep going back and forth. And some family, even people who don't know each other, are obliged even to go and share with people that they don't know. Because many landlords today, which I think it's probably illegal and the state need to oversee it, is to look at the private housing, how some landlord will take 3-bedroom, make it like 9 or 12 people sharing. Tenants will be paying like 700 to 900 euros. If you look at 3-bedroom, in the market today, costs monthly like 5,000-6,000 euros. Where on earth can we survive with that in Ireland? So it's become a money-making instead of the humanity side or the social side. Maybe it's very difficult.
That's very difficult. And what then can you do for them?
We can do a lot for them. Unfortunately, we're very limited in terms of resources.
Right.
We would have been in a good position if we had the means to even hire housing officer who can engage day to day on these queries, engaging with the landlord, even looking for either philanthropists or goodwill donors who will support those ones to go through. unfortunately, we're limited, but we still rely on, I know Peter McVery has been very good in the past helping some of our clients. Crosscare also, when we referred people there, they're helping. Focus Island is doing well. But they're the one doing well because they have the resources. We need the same resources to do the same work, but we don't have it. So maybe we can do a lot. And I think maybe those who are listening to us might think, oh, listen, these are vulnerable people. We need to do something for them. And my pity has and listen to our call. And I will say I'm okay. I'm an Irish citizen. I have a roof over my head, but I'm committed to helping people who are struggling like I struggled in the past, but I don't have the resources. And Mary, I can tell you sometime my house is like a market. I'm sometimes opening my door to vulnerable people I never even met. At least that they have one night in, 2 nights to escape the cold, the rain, have at least a hot tea or coffee as a normal person before finding where to go. It's a bit difficult. Maybe.
We're in a tough time at the moment in Ireland because the immigration policies is still something that needs to be established. And once that's established, people know where they are, where they stand.
And that is getting worse really, with the new minister approach on terms of migration, in terms of deportation issues, in terms of asylum decision. If you read the media and you look at his statement, it's something that I'm worried so much that the tough time is to come. And I hope that, I think I did mention this a few times, that he remember that he has a legacy to leave, as many other been in his shoes as a minister and have left legacies. And the legacy is speaking on its own today. And I hope that as a minister, he will think that he's not going to remain Minister for Justice for the rest of his life. There will be time that he's going to move. And he should think that he is a garant of the international law, the Irish Constitution, and he should be abiding by the laws and not about self-decision. That is not in the...
I assume that the Irish Solidarity Centre is sending letters, sending pressure, like other organisations, because those organisations...
Yes, in the like of what happened 2 weeks ago, I think the Africa Solidarity Centre and the ethnic minority, we had to cease our solicitor, and we have written officially to the President of Ireland, we have written to the Minister of Justice, and we have written to the Taoiseach to call for, the EU directive to be, applied in Ireland and respected, because we've seen the fear that now we all think, even I'm an Irish citizen, as African, I'm worried every day of my life. Being either on the bus or the street, you don't know what will happen. And the government has an obligation to protect every citizen in Ireland.
Protection, right. Just 2 things before we go into the challenges. What about the job? How are the job situation? How do you help people with jobs in the African Solidarity Centre?
We do a lot, even though the impact might not be, that big. But we've been collaborating with some institution. We had a black job approach recruitment with PayPal. We are talking with Apple. We are talking with different organizations to facilitate black talent recruitment. And in the coming weeks, we're even planning some kind of series of events where we will be organizing online and physical meeting, inviting those recruiters to help, because if you do a research or study these days, you'll find that among the black community, the African community, we have highly educated people. We have people with BAs, Masters and PhDs who are even forced to do healthcare and so on because they cannot get a job in their field.
Now, is it because their qualification is from abroad? Or is it those who've also studied here are having the same problem?
The same. I know people who studied here who are, 2 or 3 doctors, 1 or 2 Nigerian, 1 Malawian, who are taxi drivers with PhD in this country. And I know people who ended up becoming either bus driver or something with masters and so on. I know people who are cleaning job with masters. I know people, look, my unfortunate circumstance is that I am on kind of like a runabout in the middle of everything, where people come in the morning, midday, and evening time, and I know all these issues, and I'm trying my best. And sometimes I wonder how even I'm surviving, having my own challenges and having to take many other people's challenges. So this is very important to notify that we have highly educated and good talent in Ireland. However, the job spec is a problematic. The recruitment in terms of transparency, in terms of accountability, fairness is not always applied in those markets. And many people apply job like maybe 100 times and they never even get acknowledged or even called for an interview. They didn't get it. So one of the things that we do as well, we collaborate with the business in the community, has the EPIC program, providing employment training, guiding them through like CVs, cover letters, and also organizing some mock exams in terms of how to carry a job interview, helping some other people.
And how's that? I mean, that seems real progress because then they now know how to answer questions in Irish setting.
Yeah.
How is that help more people to get jobs, or is it still? It
helped a lot because even the Irish job spec, you expect somebody to have a standard CV to the Irish market, and you take somebody like coming from a francophone or a different country where the system is totally different, and you have to, like me, when I came to Ireland, I had my CV would be like maybe 10 or 12 pages, and I needed 2 pages only to demonstrate and justify it. It's difficult. And I've seen people who comes to me with 7, 6, 9 pages of CVs. So that is help because it kind of provide knowledge and education to those newcomers, how they need to reshape their CVs, how they need to work things out to make sure they are more they're selling themselves out instead of the boring CVs that somebody might not have time to read. And it's making the differences.
Well done. It seems as if the African Centre is doing a lot of things. I don't know how you're getting on, but obviously you are tackling the issues that they're bringing towards you as a centre. What are the challenges you're facing in reality?
You see my bread going deep in and out because the challenge is massive. We have no appropriate funding. We have no, even in terms of space, is a challenge.
Do you have an office space now?
We do have an office space that we are sharing with another partner, which is a bit small compared to previous offices that we might have in the past. We're having challenges in terms of our staff. We don't have core funding that can hire proper staff to back up our work. We are kind of running on a voluntary basis, which is if you're not really committed and you have no passion of providing these services, it's a bit difficult. So we don't have this kind of backbone support where we know we have this regularly, like yearly, this funding is there, and then we can't really restructure ourselves in terms of employment, in terms of hiring people with specific skills to help our client and customers. And again, the Africa Centre, we get people coming to us for, even Irish people dropping to us for housing issues, for medical card issues, for other information that we help them. We have different communities coming, but we don't have that funding, and funding is the bigger challenge we are facing.
It's a big challenge that you have. So listen, we're coming to the end now. So thank you for taking the time to tell us about the African Solidarity Centre. If there was a word you could say to the Minister, what would you say concerning the African Centre?
Mary, when it comes to the Minister of Justice and Children,
which
the Integration Fund of the Asylum Seekers International Protection Fund that we had for the past few years was very helpful. It need to be conducted, but we have some challenges that we haven't mentioned. When we're talking about the younger generation, we need to talk about families who are also struggling with younger children. And one of the challenges of the children as well is that maybe sometimes we get letter from the court sending people for us to give them cultural training, either there was some kind of issues in families where either the man is African, the wife is Irish or European, or it's the opposite side. And when people don't get together, they have to be sending them, has to provide them cultural training. So they understand the EU laws, they understand the Irish, ways of doing things, but they don't give us funding. They send us the problem, but don't send us the funding.
Right, so
Okay.
you're saying, don't send us the problem, send us
the resources, and then we'll be able to help
Right.
contribute. We go to jails. We have so many, and this is a call for people who are really passionate about human rights issues, who really want to stand shoulder with us, is that we have so many young generation, African people, women and men in jail that nobody talk about it. Nobody. I haven't given up, but lack of resources. I can no longer even visit some prison where we get calls, oh, this person is there, this is the situation, you need to go and see him. But how do you do that without resources? And I'm calling for pro bono solicitors who are listening to us, that we need them. We know some solicitors are based on money, but sometimes some of the cases are challenging cases that need committed and passionate people on human rights issues to take them, because we've seen the gap in terms of dealing, where one gets, one sentence based on something, and one gets the same issue sentence 5 or 3 times more than others, and that's a challenge as African organization dealing with those issues. So to the Minister of Children, the Minister of Justice, a lot of things need to be done, and mainly women and girls are suffering. Poverty is one of the issues as well. We used to provide, thanks to food, used to help us with food basket weekly to provide to family. Unfortunately, due to lack of space, could no longer continue while families are still struggling, even to meet them on hand. So if there's anyone who can help us as well in terms of, resources, in terms of space, in terms of facilities, this will be also helpful.
Right, and to aid that, how could we become a member of the African Solidarity Center?
The Africa Center is a membership organization, like I said at the beginning. It's open to everybody. On our website, you have become a member section where you just fill your form, you complete it. Asylum seekers and students, only €5. Individual people, €25. Organization, €50. And corporate company offer whatever they want. And they provide us with the bios and so on. Within 2 to 3 weeks, the governing body will sit on it, decide in terms of conflict of interest and also the source of funding, make sure that there is transparency, and we meet the EU regulation in terms of money laundering and so on before we validate it, and we become members. And on our website, members are public.
Right. Can you give us the name of that website again, please?
africacenter.ie.
africacenter.ie.
www.africacenter.ie, but the center is with T-R-E and not E-R, because some people confuse the center, American center writing, to the Irish way. Right. So africacenter.ie is the website.
Listen.
And we are based on Amiens Street, number 85, 86 Amiens Street in Dublin 1, just 2 minutes away from Connolly Station. And feel free to call in over for tea or coffee to chat.
Listen, I've had coffee there, so thank you so much. And listen, we really appreciate your time and expanding our knowledge about the African Solidarity Center.
Thank you very much,
charity organization.
Great pleasure, and thanks
in
for
the country for 25 years and still another 25 years.
Of course, you reminded me that's very important. People should watch the space. This year is marking our 25 years, and we are looking forward to celebrating in October. A lot of line-up of good thing. It will be amazing. And for those who've been there at the beginning, I'm hoping that we will have all of them in one room, including all the founding members and our allies and partners, to come for amazing celebration.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Lassane
Ouedraogo.
Ouedraogo.
Yeah,
Thank
Ouedraogo.
you so much.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much,
you.
Mary.
Thank you.